Hey guys, welcome back to another video. And in today's video, I have a little bit of a different video. And this video is actually going to be the first of its kind on this channel. It's going to be a story time. So yeah, let's get right on into it, man. So for me to tell the story, we're going to have to go back to May of this year. Now the plan for the day was pretty simple. I was going to show up to school, and then later on in the day, we would leave to go to Virginia Beach and presumably smoke like we always do and just get into, whatever high schoolers get into. So the way that the schedule was going to work for my school this day was, it was one of the testing days since the year was coming to an end. And after all the testing blocks were up in the morning leading into the afternoon, I was just going to slip out of one of the back doors of the school and get picked up by my friends and start the long 2-hour drive to Virginia Beach. Now, before I get too carried away and I get way too deep into this story, I think now is going to be a great time to just tell y'all who is actually going to be in the story today. So, the people that would be coming with me is my best friend Miguel, Adriel, and a few others, but really just these two matter for the sake of the story time today. So this day starts in school, consisting of my pretty usual routine of me going to the bathroom and just seeing who's there chilling, because usually in the morning and during transition, you'll always find hella people in there. And one more thing I want to let y'all guys know about the story time is when I first came into school this day, I had no idea that I would be going on this adventure. Because the whole reason I had even come to school this day, because I hadn't been for most of the semester at this point, and the only reason I had came was for a single makeup test. But what I didn't know is that when I stepped foot into this high school bathroom, my plans for the whole next 48 hours were about to change. So I walk in and I just see Adriel posted up chilling at one of the sinks in the bathroom. You know how it goes, taking a few puffs off of his vape here and there, the average teenage high schooler. But, I go up to him, I ask to tap his nick, or, his vape, or whatever y'all call it. And I can see that he's texting people on his phone, but, I'm not that nosy, so I don't notice who it is or who he's texting. And, we're just sitting there talking for a while like we usually do in the mornings. And eventually he asked me if I want to go to Virginia Beach with them. Now, once again, guys, the whole reason I had even came to school today was for a makeup test that I told my grandma that I'd be taking. But, of course, when he asked me, my ass was not trying to go to school this day. I'm not going to lie. I was not trying to go to school. I was trying to get faded. I was trying to get drunk, trying to hang out with my friends. Looking back on it, maybe I should have took that test. But fuck it, right? Like, what can I do now, But anyways, I tell him, of course I want to go. Obviously, my ass was bored as shit in that bathroom. So he gives me a quick little rundown on everybody that's coming with us. The girl that would be driving us there was, I guess, a friend of his from his childhood. But anyways, fast forward to when transition is over and all the testing blocks have wrapped up, and everyone's coming out of their testing room, and it's time for the next class period. So me and Adriel grab a few of the people that would be coming with us, like one of them being Miguel, and we hurry out to the front of the school, sneaking out one of the doors. Now, it's here that I realize the seating arrangement. Now, the seating arrangement for today's story time is very, very interesting, to say the least. Now, you may be asking, why is it interesting? Well, we would be bringing a few other members for this mission today. And one of them was a little bit on the more buff side, the more Hercules type build side, the more Aquaman type build. And also we had more people than we had seats in the car. So with me pretty much being the smallest one there, I had to sit on the floorboard. But honestly, I was fine with that because I didn't have to go to school. Looking back on it, would I do it again? Yeah, probably. So after we all secure our little positions in the car, we had to go on a few setup missions, per se. which the missions itself were pretty simple. It really just consisted of buying a few pre-rolls, a shit ton of Twisted Tea, and some towels for the trip. So we bought 2 pre-rolls of Moonrock Za, and I'm not gonna lie, these 2 pre-rolls were getting split in a rotation between about 6 people, but we were still excited as ever. So we decided that we want to save 1 pre-roll for the underwater tunnel that you go through on your way to Virginia Beach. And if you've ever been to Virginia Beach before, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. And it takes about like 5 minutes to drive through, so we wanted to spark it going into the tunnel. So we had that to look forward to in about 2 hours. Meanwhile, me, Miguel, and Tony were just chugging Twisted Teas in the back. But don't worry, YouTube, do not ban me, do not shadow ban me. My driver was completely sober. Obviously, we support safe and sober driving around here, guys. Make sure to always drive sober and safe. Thank you, YouTube. Okay. But anyway, after me, Miguel, and Tony get done listening to music and just absolutely destroying Twisted Tea after Twisted Tea, after beatbox, after beatbox, we decide that the only logical thing to do is to spark a blunt on top of that, obviously. So we take out one of the Moonrock pre-rolls, and we get to puffing. And honestly, my tolerance is pretty cooked because I've been smoking for a while now. So honestly, I feel like I'm at the point where I can't even really get high anymore because high was just my normal state for so long. So pro tip, guys, moderation is key to having a fun time with the za. Don't be like me. Don't be a pothead. Don't smoke at every opportunity given. But anyways, with there being around 6 of us in the car, it only took a couple rotations before inevitably the pre-roll was completely gone. And we still had about an hour left to drive, and a man without his blunt for the next hour was something tragic. Because now I'd have to wait until we got to the tunnel to spark the next one. But honestly, I was kind of fine with that because the alk started to really take over, and honestly, I kind of forgot I was even high. So I'm just going to fast forward just for the sake of the story time and the video getting long. We fuck around for, about another hour until finally we see the tunnel coming up and it's time to spark the second pre-roll. Now, the seating arrangement in the car was I was sitting in the floorboard for the last 2 hours of this ride with Miguel, Tony, and Zahir in the back seat alongside me, and Adriel's childhood friend and him being in the passenger seat. So finally, after hella waiting, Adriel finally pulls out the pre-roll and we're ready to spark. Until something tragic happens. Adriel looks at us, he looks down at the blunt, looks at us and down at the blunt one more time, and he goes, "Guys, where'd the weed go?" Now keep in mind I'm sitting on the floorboard, so I can't exactly get a visual representation of what he's talking about, because to the best of my knowledge back there, we have a full pre-roll ready to be sparked. So Adriel starts fumbling around looking for the weed while all of us ask him what he means. And even at the time of me telling the story time to y'all, I honestly still could not tell you for sure exactly where the weed went. But the assumption we all made before we got to the beach was that it probably all flew out the window out of the end of the pre-roll somehow. Because Adriel could only find a few of the remains and a few nugs on the floor. But other than that, the weed was just completely gone. And needless to say, it definitely crushed my mood for a little while. Eventually, we all make it to our parking spot for the beach, and we pay our little $10 toll or whatever they make you pay down there. But yeah, eventually I wriggled my way out of the little spot I'd been sitting in for the past 2 hours, and I started helping unloading the chairs and just taking it down to the beach where we were going to set up shop and just have a blast. So we get down there, and obviously the first thing that a lot of us want to do is hop straight in the water. And if you've ever been to Virginia Beach, they can have some pretty big waves there sometimes. And the water is, as always, very, very salty. Probably one of the things that I hate the most about it, but, it's all right. We're getting a little bit sidetracked. So I don't exactly remember which one of us got in the water first, but I just know for a fact that it wasn't me. Water was a little bit cold, and I don't know, I just kind of wanted to take in the view, a little bit drunk, and I don't know, I just wasn't feeling the saltwater vibes today, I don't know. But, eventually I do ease up, and, I do end up getting in the water and having some fun. Me and Miguel just challenge each other, see how far out we can go. But, yeah, eventually I get a little bit tired of that, of all the sand and just all of the salt water in my mouth. Pause. But eventually we decide that we want to go look around for some places to cop some za at, because if you guys don't remember earlier in the story time, we lost pretty much all of it. So we're all sitting around here trying to figure out where we're going to get some za from next. And that's when my friend Tony and Miguel end up going to go look at a nearby fast food place. Now, I know you may be asking, a fast food place? I mean, fucking come on now. Like, how is that possibly going to help you get za? Well, I was thinking the exact same thing at first, I'm not going to lie. But then you also have to kind of take into account where we are. I mean, this is Virginia Beach, and I was worried about cops and all of this. But, the more and more it was down there, I just kind of came to the conclusion that everyone here is either drunk or faded as shit. So I guess it really didn't matter at the end of the day. But while they go do that, everyone else is really just chilling at the beach where we have our little place set up. But I'd say we were staying there chilling for probably about 30, 40 more minutes before Tony and Miguel got back. And when they got back, they had went to KFC, believe it or not. And YouTube, please don't cancel me for this part of the story coming up. But they had ran into two African-American gentlemen in the store. And I guess essentially they were just like, hey, we want some za. I wasn't there, so I don't actually know exactly what they said. But what I do know is that they didn't actually come back with any za. And I'm not going to lie, once again, crushed my soul, disappointed me. But what they did come back with was the social tag of a nearby local plug. So finally we actually had some sort of lead to go on where to cop some za around this place. But at this point, it was only about 5 in the afternoon, so we weren't going to follow this lead up just yet. But we were definitely going to come back to it and cop some za before we left this place. In the meantime, we still had a ton more alcohol. And if you guys haven't realized this far into the story time, my friends fucking love alcohol. So they keep downing bottle after bottle and can after can. Until eventually, these group of girls on the other side of the beach start looking over at us. And I'm pretty sure originally the one that pointed this out was Adriel and Miguel. And guys, I would hate to spoil my own story time, and especially it being the first one on the channel. But let me just tell you guys, these girls were no good. And pretty soon you're going to see why I say this. So after a little while of Adriel staring at these girls and talking to Miguel, we finally decide that we're going to go talk to them as a full group, because I'm going to be honest with y'all, Adriel was a little bit scared of the hoes. And well, for me, on the other hand, I had a girlfriend, and I'll have you guys know, Ruin is a very loyal man. Anyways, we're over here socializing and interacting, and after a while, Adriel failing miserably to quote-unquote riz up the hot redhead. And I'm not even gonna lie, after a little while of socializing with them, Adriel actually found out that the girl he was talking to was, I'm not gonna say exactly how much younger than him, but a significant amount to the point where he wouldn't want it anymore. So at this stage in time, it was all up to Tony. And to tell you a little bit more about Tony, Tony is the type of guy where he just would basically fuck anything. And I'm not gonna lie, I've known Tony for a while, for the past couple of years in my school, and he has a reputation for just pulling the hose. But at this point in time, he had actually walked off with all three of them. So after Tony essentially stealing Adriel's bitch and leaving for probably about an hour, not even gonna lie, have no idea what they did, don't want to know. And we're all there just chilling, drunk as hell, on the beach, also crossfaded, because these girls had weed, and we sat there and smoked every last blunt with them on the beach. Pretty good. I was actually at this point pretty happy I came, because at that point I hadn't got too much ZA or THC in my system, so it was looking like a pretty sad day at first. But regardless of all that, finally Tony and 3 of the girls come back, and it is time for the most interesting part of the story. Now let me get into this. So they come back, and we're all just sitting there chilling, doing whatever on our phones, and I'm pretty sure a couple of us were out in the water swimming. But basically, I see Tony and them walking back on, like, the sidewalk in the distance, and I just flag everybody down that was out in the water, like, hey guys, they're back, because what we had planned to do when they returned was hotbox their car. Now, there were only a couple issues with this plan, being that one of our homies was on probation and couldn't smoke any weed, so he just offered to all of us just to stay back with Adriel's childhood friend that had originally drove us down there. Because just like me, she wasn't really fucking with these new group of girls that we had met, and to be honest, I really wasn't either. I was just there for the weed, man. Starting to think I might rebrand my channel as just Weed Eater. Anyway, but so those 2 end up staying behind, and then the group now is me, Tony, Miguel, Adriel, and the 3 other girls. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this was a very tight fit into the car, and we were all a little bit too drunk and high to even, like, realize that is way too many people to fit in that car. So after a while of us failing fucking terribly to fit in this car, we just decided we're just gonna smoke out here and just try to steer clear of any, like, cops. And it takes about 15-ish minutes for Tony to roll up, because I'm not gonna lie, when I looked over to my right, this man was rolling a fucking abomination, bro. Like, I'm being so serious right now. Like, this shit looked like a fucking cigar. And I'm not gonna lie, I was getting a little bit impatient while he was rolling up, because usually, it never really takes that long to roll up, pretty easy, simple, fast. But I'm not gonna lie, when I took my first fucking puff off of this fucking abomination, man, it was all worth it, to say the least. It was all fucking worth it. And we probably go through about 3 or 4 just absolute cigars packed to the brim. And I think that we're all done. We start getting up, moving our stuff around, and I think that we're done, because the girls are moving their bags. But what I don't realize is that they're actually looking for something in their bag. And the way that we're laid out here is I'm sitting with Miguel, and Tony and Adriel, pretty much the only people this whole time that have been obsessing over these girls, are over there on the side with them. And at this point in time of knowing these girls, me and Miguel had kind of formed our own little opinions on them, so that's why we were over there, not with them, just for clarification. But, it's still pretty quiet where we are, so I can still hear the other conversations that are going on across from us with the girls. And eventually I hear their conversation move to whatever they were talking about. I honestly can't remember. To fucking coke. Yep, that's right. Coke. Fucking coke. Now, I don't know about you guys, but up to this point, I have never tried or touched another drug except for marijuana, the good old Mary Jane, and nicotine. So, needless to say, when I look over and see these girls trying to tempt Adriel to do a line of coke, obviously in my head I'm thinking, we're chilling. He's smart. He's not going to do this. This is a dumb idea. Right, guys? Yeah, nope. Not at all. I look over, me and Miguel both at the same time, to see this man, Adriel, snort an entire line. Now, me and Miguel both know Adriel pretty well, and we know that Adriel has never done coke before. So we look at him with sort of this look of disappointment, almost, I would say. But, Adriel was, legally, of age, an adult, and he can make his own decisions. So, at the end of the day, I really don't think there's much me and Miguel or anybody else there with us that day really could have done for him. But, we don't want to scold our friend, per se, in front of the hose. But as soon as we get a moment alone with him, me and Miguel both sit him down, and we're just like, what the fuck? Like, why would you do that? You've never done anything like that before. You don't know if shit is laced. You just don't know what you're going to get out here. And honestly, Adriel's making whatever excuse he was making that day. Honestly, I really wasn't hearing it. Because, the situation we are in, we are all the way 2 hours from home, skipping school to be at Virginia Beach, drinking and smoking weed, and apparently now, a new thing on the list, snorting a line of coke. So yeah, eventually we all get over this mental hump of realizing, yep, our friend just absolutely scarfed down a line of coke, and now it's time to, move on with our day. Now, like I said, it was 5 o'clock around the time that all of this started happening at their car. So we decided that we're going to leave around 7:30, because it is 2 hours. And I did want to get home before 11. And I had already called my grandma in advance, just, like letting her know, like, hey, like, this is when I'll be back, whatnot. So then I could just really just enjoy and immerse myself in my stay at Virginia Beach for the time being. So, me and Miguel, not knowing the effects of coke, we all agreed before we head out back to the rest of the group, waiting back at the beach for us, because we were all about to pack up and leave at this point. But, we just came to the agreement that, hey, like, this is what Adriel has done and put in the system. If we see any bad signs, if he starts tweaking, we can help him. So we just tell him that, let us know if anything feels off or funny. And, yeah, but we started making our way back. And when we did, we were all talking, getting each other's socials or whatever. Well, not me, but, my friends getting their socials or whatever. Because I guess they had a party that they wanted them to come back to. Actually, I think next month at the time of recording this video. So maybe I'll go with them. Probably not, honestly. You'll see why in a second when I finish the story. But, it always could be a little part 2 to this story time I'm about to finish up for y'all. So, eventually the girls depart, and now it's just time for the last little side quest, which is just get the fuck home, right? So, we pack up all of our stuff. I help carry the chairs back to the car, put them in the trunk, and then we're good to go. We're out, and we start driving away. Now, on the way here, I had seen a plethora of people getting pulled over on the road. But I just never really thought much of it. I just figured they were doing whatever they were doing, had a reason, they deserved to get pulled over. Well, I kid you not, before we even make it back to the underwater tunnel that we took to actually get there, the one that we dropped the pre-roll in all the way back in the beginning, yeah, that one. Before we even get there, inevitably, we see some blue and red lights behind us. And that's when, everyone's just like, fuck, man. So, we decide we're not going to run. We're going to pull over and we're just going to sit here and talk to him. And to be honest, it's not really the full group deciding. It's really the driver. And I forgot to mention, the driver on the way back, the one that's driving us now, is not the same person that took us there. That person is still in the car. Adriel's friend is still in the car. But she was a little bit too drunk to drive us back. So we had to get our other friend that, like I said, at the time was on probation to drive. And, because of his restrictions at the time or whatever, he was not supposed to be driving. So inevitably, when the officer walks up, he eventually runs his things and also, funny enough, sees me sitting on the floorboard. So, he gets an extra ticket for that, which is just fucking fabulous. But, meanwhile, I'm just sitting here really thinking about the, best way to get out of this situation, because at the time, I am sitting on the floorboard, and next to me on the floorboard are hell of alcoholic drinks under the seat. So, if he does end up searching this vehicle, he's going to find alk, probably the remains of the pre-roll we spilled earlier, and, just anything else, and it doesn't help my anxiety that Adriel had done coke. And with Adriel being the one sitting, right above me, since I'm on the floorboard, I am noticing, all of his slight and small movements. And what I've noticed is when we were getting pulled over, this man was fidgeting a lot in his seat, moving a lot, and reaching for things and just really stressing me out. So, I'm like, hey, fucking stop, cut it out. Stop moving, stop grabbing random shit, just chill the fuck out, please, so we can just get out of this and get home, without going to jail 2 hours away from where we actually live. Because this dude, Adriel, really had me feeling like at any moment this officer could just get the wrong impression and then, then I'm on World Star or, Instagram or just, anything like that, just dead as hell. So I'm really not trying to be one of those people. So I was just like, hey, stop. And it actually did work. So thank God, I'm still alive here to tell the story time today. But, eventually the officer does come back after running everything and all my friend's information. And then, gives him all of his shit back. And surprisingly enough, he was actually pretty chill. And he was going to let us go. But there was still one more problem. Too many people to fit in the car. And, he wasn't going to let us keep driving around with more people than there were supposed to be in the car. So one of us would have to get out, basically, at Virginia Beach and find a ride home. Is essentially what he was telling us. And, obviously everyone's like, how the fuck am I going to get home? Like, who the fuck is going to come get me all the way from Virginia Beach? And, Tony took one for the team. He was just like, hey, guys, leave me. I'll find my way home. And Tony is one of these friends in the friend group where if you did and you had to put him in a situation like this, you wouldn't feel too bad because you'd be pretty confident that, he'd be able to survive. So the cop basically just escorts us off the highway that we were on before the tunnel, just to a nearby gas station where, he drives off, and then Tony gets out of the car and starts calling his ride up. So, we're all just saying our goodbyes, saying how crazy the whole day was and how lucky we are to, have gotten out of this shit, especially considering, my friend violated his probation. But, we're still all free, roaming the streets. And we let Tony sit inside the car for a while to charge his phone. So, he'll have a decent amount of battery before his ride comes and gets him. But, yeah, before we drive off, I thought this was also pretty funny. As we were driving off, about to, leave Tony there or whatever, Tony, shouts, hey, guys, and then waves something real small and green in the air. And it's in clear packaging. And this man, Tony, had got a bag. And somehow from somewhere, I guess this man had just been holding on to the weed that we had copped. So, we were all looking for the weed, praying that we were just going to smoke on the way home after all this shit. And this man basically just fucking robbed us. So, hey, fuck, man. I don't know. Just, I hope y'all guys enjoyed this story time. First story time on the channel. I don't know how good I am at telling these stories, but, man, I hope y'all love them. Hope you enjoy it, because, man, this is a long video, y'all. So, yeah, that's about it. That's about all I have for today. But, yeah, make sure to like, subscribe, and, yeah, peace.